is, what's the name of the song? Husker Du.
Pink turns to blue. That I can read. This is for Anarchy 99.
Anarchy 99. It's the alliance with the coolest name of all time. That's got to be the coolest name, Anarchy 99.
Yeah, I also really like their intro because I really like this part where they all...
People always comment on the Anarchy 99 intro. They're like, oh, that's a good one. I'm like, yeah, sure. We came up with it. Sure. Look, guys, what is an alliance? Here's an alliance, okay? So you will notice that other reaction channels, and go support them because they're very important. Like, share, comment, subscribe other reaction channels. You will see that every 20, 30 seconds or so they cut up their songs. And then there's a very good reason for that. Here's what happens. You'll see a horrible Biden commercial on this thing probably, or a horrible Trump commercial at the beginning of this video. And what happens is you get a cut of the ad revenue and Google gets a cut of the ad revenue. Well, what happens is when you listen to a song all the way through, it alerts the record label. The record label basically gets told, hey, somebody's listening to one of your artist's music, and they show up, and then you get a nice little nifty little message from YouTube that says basically, Your standing with us is great. It's just that the cut that you were going to get from the ad revenue is going to the filthy capitalist record label. So, that's what happens when you play the thing uninterrupted. Well, we didn't know that at the beginning, and we were about 5,000 subscribers deep by the time we figured it out. And so we tried different ways to...
Well, we kept thinking it was just some bands, and then it kept happening more and more and more. So it took us a little while to realize...
So we began to try to find ways to circumvent that process, and none of our folks liked it. They liked the regular standard format, so we kept with it. So then what we said is, well, we can offset the loss of the ad revenue via Patreon. So that's how we came up. Actually, it wasn't us. It was a villager. Shout out to Jerry. That came up with the Patreon idea. $1 at the gate gets you in, and there's a $5 tier, a $20 tier, and shirts and all that. And there's one tier where you can review a song with us. Shout out to the big homie Shane. That's happening pretty soon. And so what happens is you pool your points together, and then that determines what songs that we listen to whenever we do an alliance pick. Now, there's multiple alliances. There's a black metal alliance. There's an extreme underground alliance. There's an extreme metal alliance. I think there's like even a power metal alliance. This is the Anarchy 99 Alliance, and they're more kind of like avant-garde. The last song that Anarchy 99 chose for us to listen to is the most disturbing song I've ever listened to in my entire life. Period. So hopefully, inshallah, this will be an easier song to listen to and digest. Now, the song wasn't bad that they chose, because lyrically I felt like it needed to be done, but good Lord. Anyway, here it is, Husker Du, Pink Turns to Blue. I got my lyrics here, so we should be good to go.
Okay.
At some point here.
Jeez, well, that's pretty sad.
I just figured out what pink turns to blue means. Good Lord.
Okay.
You know, like, you're kind of pink.
That's what
but then when you die,
got from the whole thing. Yeah. At first, I thought pink turned to blue was... I thought, because it said she was always by my side, it never... Wait a minute, no. Going out each day to score, she was no whore before me. Celebrating every day the way she thought it should be. I thought he was saying she was like going out with other guys after she had been with him. And so pink turned to blue was... I thought it was like... Pink is usually representative of like feminine, you know, kind of...
Yeah.
You know, and then it turned to blue as in he's sad because now... the relationship's not going well.
Yeah, I thought that that's where it was going.
Yeah, but then as it progressed, and then it was like, actually, she was going up to score dope. And
no more rope, too
her.
much dope. She's lying on the bed in Angel's face.
She's almost dead.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
You know, we were at it's actually when we went to NAMM. And there was like a Christian thing or whatever, and so we went to it. And I think it was, it wasn't Michael W. Who was the guy? He was the guy that does God of Angel Armies. What's his name? Redmond? Matthew Redmond.
Yeah, I was like, I think it is Matthew somebody.
Yeah, and he was talking about that song, you know, the Angel Army song. And he was talking about, I think it was the Philippines, where these people were about to be executed. And they were singing that song while they were being executed. Mm-hmm. And the crime that they got there, we had a debate about this on the way home. The crime that they were getting executed for was drug trafficking. Mm-hmm. And you were like, I think it was heroin. And you were like,
as well, yeah.
You were like, oh my God, these horrible people are executing these people for drug trafficking. And I was like, well, just for full, I think, are you with me on this or not? I don't think I'm ever asking. I don't believe in the death penalty.
Oh.
So I would never vote for or help in any way, shape, or form legislating the death penalty because I think it's inappropriate for a Christian to call for the death of anyone, even if they deserve it.
Well, that's my thing. If I wasn't a Christian, then I would toy around more with the idea of the death penalty. The only thing that worries me about the death penalty is obviously the injustice that you see in our system, and then to think that injustice could be applied all the way to death, legalized death. That's obviously a major, major issue. And so in that case, I'm like, well, I don't know. But if justice was just, and it wasn't about like other things, it wasn't about the color of your skin or the gender or what, like it was just literally about right and wrong, then I'm more okay with certain crimes having death penalty.
Right. So we had this little debate about this, and I was like, look, if I was a pro-death penalty person, I would be completely fine with giving these hard drug traffickers the death penalty. Mm-hmm. And you were like, what? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how many people did we have to bury downtown because these evil bastards were out there trafficking heroin, knowing that they were going to be killing people, doing it anyway?
Yeah.
So I'm against the death penalty, but if I was for the death penalty, I didn't think that the Filipinos were doing the wrong thing in that situation. I don't know if it was the Philippines or China. So it was some place, and you got the death penalty, or was it? I forgot the name of the place, but Singapore. I think it was actually Singapore. But anyway, these people...
Yeah, but how can you think that? If there's human trafficking, how can you think that people aren't being forced into doing drug trafficking?
Well, drug trafficking is what you're getting the death penalty for. Like a drug dealer is a drug it's
yeah, I know, but if I have forced you to bring these drugs from one location to the other.
Well, I think if there's a death penalty attached to it, then that person would be more likely to go to the authorities. Right. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but I also think that there's lots of things that people would be like, well, if there was a punishment for this certain behavior, maybe they wouldn't have, like, how do you know that someone is not in, like, girls get in bad situations with guys all the time where they're forced to do things they don't want to do, and so what makes you think that them having to traffic drugs is not something else that could happen to somebody?
Well, again, if you have a society where a person who does that gets the death penalty, then that person is more likely to rat you out to the police in order to save their own skin.
Yeah.
And I think in a society like that, a drug trafficker wouldn't trust anybody to do that because of that type of eventuality. Because now I'm putting my life at risk by trusting you to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but my point was like I am only against the death penalty because of my conviction as a Christian. It is not something that I emotionally am against. I am not emotionally against the death penalty for people who abuse children.
Yeah.
For people who sexually assault women. It's always like, people are pretty good with killing people that destroy kids, but like, if a grown woman gets sexually assaulted, they're like, which is actually more frequent than I have no. I emotionally,
it's pretty ridiculous.
Emotionally, I wouldn't mind executing people that do that to children or women. But we all know that the opioid crisis has, in our area in particular, more people have died in opioid overdoses in our area in the last year than COVID. Unfortunately, we know 2 or 3 of the people. I mean, Maine's a very small state, but we know a good amount of the people that have actually died from COVID because of and wouldn't you know it, it's always vulnerable downtown people that are not high income people, but that's a different story. But I wouldn't have a problem putting that into the it's just such a horrible, tragic plague in our society, and the people that are doing it know it's different from a weed, your weed hookup, back in the day at school, like everybody knows that you're not going to die of a weed overdose. Nobody dies of a weed overdose. People either take it to go to sleep or they take it to have fun, and that's pretty much it. We're talking about you are, with malice aforethought, in putting the life of this person at risk because you want to make money, and you're willing to kill these people because,
which is why a lot of times they don't use what they sell.
Oh yeah, they never do. The really good ones
never.
Which
the case for people who sell weed.
Right. The really good ones never use good ones as far as business. It's just. Look, and again, this is me being recognize I'm being emotional about it because we've lost people here, and it's just. And the other thing is when these people are trying to get off of that chemical. And the drug dealer knows that the person's trying to get clean, they will give them free samples to get them back into it.
Yep.
It's just the most evil, horrific. I don't have enough adjectives to describe the way that I feel about those people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear you.
It's like. So when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I bet you anything they don't have thousands of people a year dying. Because of ODs over there where they live, and I think if you're a death penalty person, a very, very good case could be made for giving people that do that the death penalty.
Yeah.
Once I figured out the song, like when they talked about the angels pacing, it was the worst story I've ever heard in my life in regard to this whole situation. Was you remember that time there were these like these kids in the street? I had just come back from a Bible study and God was like, I need you to go talk to those kids. And I was
You say kids, I think like
they were like
7 or 8 years old.
No, they were like 19. They were just squatting down there.
Yeah.
And I said, I was very annoyed. I was at my wit's end. I was dealing with, a person that was causing me a lot of tribulation in my life. And I said, no, I'm not talking to them. Send somebody else to talk to them.
Wait, the first time he told me the story, I was like, who says something like that to God? Like, if you thought, you heard something and you knew it was from God, do you think, like, how many people would actually say, no, I don't want to do that? But Vinny here, master of the Old Testament, talking to God like Cain.
What? I said you always make me do that.
Stop.
Send somebody else. The giant sitting here, have somebody else doing it. I'm going home. He said, no, it's serious. I need you to turn. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing it. Sure, like part of my this is like one of the few times, like I'm not a very big free will person anyway, but literally it felt like So there's like there's the mailbox where you pick up the mail, and then there's the my thing is like a half a block down. I literally mindlessly turned into the mailbox place, got out of my car, and started walking in the direction of these kids. And I was like, the entire time I was like, you always do this to me, blah blah blah. All this self-pity. I start talking to these kids.
You gotta understand too, like now it wouldn't seem odd. Like, let's say, like if you saw like a typical homeless person and they were, very dirty, very smelly, like the type of smelly that kind of makes people literally move their body away. Like, you at that point were not you now. You now would hug that person and would not even not hesitate at all.
Yeah.
And but you back then, you were like, you didn't even hug your friends.
No.
So this story was
I don't like people touching
very,
me.
very shocking for so many reasons.
So I'm like, horrible attitude the entire time. Like, not the typical Christian blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, I'm so sick of this, and you do this all the time. Da, 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 da. I was like, I'm like, I can't believe you're doing this. And I literally felt like, gently dragged by the air into the situation. Anyway, I start talking to these people, and basically there are these kids. They're 19, 20, 21 years old. They just basically tired of the capitalist system, which at the time I was like a hyper-capitalist. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, man, you crazy. These people are crazy. And he was like, yeah, we're just tired. And they just squat, and it was summer in Maine, so and then when they basically said, when the season's going to change, we're going to jump and whatever. I'm like, how do you guys eat? How do you survive? And he's like, well, you just go to a restaurant. He goes, look, man, at the end of a night, a restaurant, man, they throw away so many good things. And he's talking about like dumpster diving. And I talked to this one kid that was in their little crew, and he was so smart. This was Jules. So intelligent. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, my mom, blah, 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 blah. Apparently dad, abusive relationship, blah, 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 blah. And, but then I found the ringleader, and the ringleader's name is Zach. And so we're sitting there talking. This girl, which I later find out is his girlfriend, gets up, goes to the overpass, drops her pants, and starts using the bathroom. I'm like...
in full view.
I was like, what are you doing to me right now? I was like, what is going on? And I was like, and the girl just sits down, and so we're talking. I'm talking about Jesus, blah, 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 blah. And the guy's like, da, da, da. And Jules was really affected by it. And so when they left,
there was a guy that was drunk. He fell asleep.
The other guy was drunk. He passed out. He fell asleep on my lap.
And he was like drooling on your lap or something like that.
Actually, I think that was Jules.
Yeah, I just remember
I was talking.
Were so many things that happened.
It was so out of. This is like.
I'm like, wow, these people were not people readers. Like, that's the last lap I would have put my head on.
The guy literally passed out. He was sleeping on my lap, and then he woke up and goes, "Hey," because he didn't know. He was like, "Who are you?" I'm like, I was like, I honestly don't know who I am at this point either.
Oh,
so we're talking, da 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 da, and
I wasn't there. He just told me about this after. We were just friends at the time.
And the crazy thing is, like,
this story got progressively worse. It was
sitting with these guys at the side of the street, and all these cars are driving by, and I was just like, I usually really don't care what people think of me, but I wanted to say, like, hey, I'm not one of these people. Like, I don't smell bad, blah blah blah. Like, people think like when you're a Christian you become this awesome person. Like, I was a horrible...
So sometimes you just see how much worse you are than you thought you were.
I'm sure people will be like, oh my god, that guy sat on the side of the street. What a great guy. No, I was probably the worst person in the city at that moment. So anyway, I'm talking. Jules wakes up and goes, he's got the drool. There's drool on my pants. I'm like... Didn't have a lot of LGBT friends at the time, by the way. So, and Jules was kind of, it's just a horrible situation. I was the whole time I'm cursing God, like, I can't believe he did this to me, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, this girl comes down and she, and so I pray for them, and Jules takes the, Jules is like, yeah, whatever. I went and found Jules' mother on the internet somehow. I don't know how I found her. Like literally after I was done, God's like, okay, now go find Jules' mother. And I found her in 2 minutes. I said, hey, I hooked up with your son Jules, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh my God, I've been praying for him. I cannot believe this. I've been praying so hard and you just randomly. She's like, what made you go? I said, well, God said, and when God talks, I listen.
God's good all the time, all the
God
time.
talks,
God's good.
And so Zach, the ringleader, he found me on Facebook, and so whatever. And then I said, how is, I forgot his girlfriend's name. I said, how's she doing? He goes, well, she died a couple days ago. I said, what? He goes, yeah, she was starting to OD. Because what happens is that I guess they'd stolen a car or something like that. And they were on somebody's property, and she was starting to OD, and they had called the cops on her. Well, he had the Narcan. So Narcan, when a person's ODing, you jam them with Narcan, and 8 out of 10 times, if you get it soon enough. So she's starting to OD in this car. The cops have Zach on the ground. Zach says, I need to get to her. She's ODing. I got the Narcan. Let me. And nope. So he goes, you take the Narcan, and nope. You're under arrest. Blah 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 blah. And they watched that girl die in that car, and the Narcan was right there. He had it.
Yeah, I know.
And they just threw it on the ground and they cuffed him, and that whole situation, I was like, I just couldn't. It just made me so angry because here are these. It's like they're street people, but all of them were so intellectual. They were so. They were, you're 20 years old. Do I think they're going to be doing that, train jumping on?
Right.
Like, do I think they're doing that 30? Most of them probably not. But when you're 20 and you don't have any responsibilities, but these cops didn't see the humanity in these kids at all, and, they just didn't care.
I honestly think it's healthy
care.
For people to, go around, do some things, because life is gonna start, and you gotta straighten up when you have kids. You know what I mean? Like,
it's true.
You gotta pull it together. You're gonna have bad days. You can't show that to your kids. You gotta, you gotta grow up. You have to grow up. You have children, but before you have kids, and you don't have to have those responsibilities. And I mean, if you're okay with dumpster diving, I'm not. But if you are,
such a crazy. It
sounds fun. I love the idea of traveling all around, but when you hear stuff like that, it's like, these were human beings. You just let that girl die in that back seat like that. Like, how can you rest at night knowing that you did that? And it's one of those things where it's like, it wasn't a race thing, it was a class thing, and they looked at them as beneath them.
Yeah, that was the big thing. It was like, he's like, because Jules came from some privilege, he's like, I'm the same person, but because,
Yep.
And he ended up going to prison. Jules ended up in prison and all that, and somebody had died. He got murder. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, he actually ended up beating the case, but he wrote me a letter. Did I tell you that?
For some reason, I thought he passed away too.
No. He wrote me a letter from jail.
Yes, I do remember.
It's like, you gave that Bible that you gave me has really been serving me well, and da 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 da.
He beat that case, huh?
He beat, mashallah, he beat the case. He's pretty sure he's with his mom, and it was just mind-boggling. Like, that was just. There's so many ramifications from just being there.
I don't think he really killed that
people.
person.
No,
I think he just happened to. They just blamed him.
He didn't. Yeah. He didn't.
Yeah.
They blamed him, and their lifestyle is kind of like eat or be eaten type of thing, and so they balanced, and he was the only one left, and so he got live. But he's out now. He's free, and I believe that he didn't do it because he was like the most gentle person there. Like all the other ones were like rugged, like street people, and he wasn't like that. So I don't believe that he killed anyone.
We kind of went through a phase where we kind of kept bumping into like that type of person. Like, remember there was those two guys outside of Walmart, and then we did it a couple times.
It was a couple. It's a guy and a girl at Walmart.
It was a girl.
Remember? And she was like, like your partner's scent or whatever.
Yes. Yes, that's right. It was a guy and a girl. I just remember the guy because I remember he had these little metal clips in his dreads, and I was like, it reminded me of like Vikings or something. I like the little metal clips, but the conversations that they have, honestly, every time I'm having conversations with that type of a person, I always feel like confused and intrigued. Like, some of the stuff they say is like super interesting, and then other things I'm like, either I'm really dumb or this is really crazy, and I'm not sure which it is.
Yeah, like, I don't want to romanticize it. I mean, it's not a lifestyle I want for my kids. I'm not, it's, you know,
See,
to your
and
point.
the thing is, I would want that for them if it was safe. I don't think it's safe for girls in those environments. Like, I feel like
It's not
stuff
safe
can
for
get...
anybody in those environments.
Well, yeah, yes, but there's certain things that I worry more about than other things. But I think that like...
So I'm listening to this, you know, I'm looking at these lyrics again. She was always by my side, never tried to leave, standing up for me like a tree for what she believed. Like, this girl was really...
Yeah.
She was with him. Like, they were, you know, whatever, and she didn't care about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was obvious. She didn't care. She's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And, like, I don't know. That got, you know, but that was, like, one of the top most, like, impactful meetings with another set of human beings in my life. You know? Like, I've been all over the world, yada, 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 but that was a really massively impactful meeting, and I'm very, very grateful to God that he just completely overrode my free will. There are times in God, nope, I don't care.
It happened with that Nazi guy.
Yeah. Same thing with the Nazi guy. It's true. God always, like, brings me in around Nazis, though. Shout out to the big homie.
Yeah.
Being him always texts me, this freaking guy, he hates him.
Yeah, but wait, was
Can't
he
stand
a
him.
Nazi, that guy, or did he hate black people?
I'm pretty sure he's a Nazi. Like, he's an avowed fascist, white supremacist,
But like, the two of you were
Aryan.
sitting side by side on a bench, and like...
Which Nazi you're talking about?
I'm talking about, there was a guy,
Oh,
you were like,
he was in a
walked
racist.
outside.
He was in a racist biker gang.
See, I knew it had something to do with like...
Yeah, and the person in me. Yeah, I always run into these, and like, me and my, like, native self is you know, like, I'm more Farrakhan, Malcolm X type guy.
I know.
I'm not, but I keep running into these white supremacists, and I don't know what happens. Like, God does something where I'm like, like, I got one on the Middle America. The guy's an absolute, complete fascist Nazi, and I love him. I pray for him often. I don't think there's anybody I pray for more than him. Shout out to the big homie. I don't know, but this song just made me think of that whole situation.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the girl's name, but I do remember Zach. Shout out to Lil Peck Zach. Shout out to Jules. I hope everybody's doing well. Inshallah. Hope I see these guys again. What do you give the song?
Audio quality was sucky.
Really?
Yeah,
I liked
it sounded like there was something going on with it.
I liked it. I like the girl vocals too. It sounded
it's
very 70s.
9.3 though. It was still a really good song.
9.6 for me. I like that 70s vibe with the woman singing, which it was 1984, so you're still closer to the 70s and the 90s at 1984. So that vocal style probably went out of style, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, there you have it.
Moral of the story is stay off of heroin. Do not traffic heroin. If you are a heroin trafficker, reach out to your brother. I will send you first class tickets to Singapore. It's a very nice place to visit. Vin out.
Sorry, y'all.
Gone.